And the biggest reasons why I gave Benavidez an advantage to just win the fight, forget about that he was going to stop him, but his hands are faster, he's more explosive, and he's got that ability to fight and burst.
Natural 75-pounders, I want to say Bivol is a much, much better technically sound fighter than Benavidez. Hits a little bit harder, I think, than Benavidez, and a little stronger than Benavidez.
Teddy Atlas in Boxing broke down the Dmitry Bivol versus David Benavidez, examining each fighter's strengths. Bradley leaned toward Davis, highlighting his experience and powerful, well-rounded arsenal.
I just see the strength and power difference and the sloppiness difference making a difference, making it more difficult for Benavidez to be able to beat a Bivol.
Meanwhile, Sean Porter praised David Benavidez's pressure and power, saying it can overwhelm most opponents, but noted that Dmitry Bivol presents a different challenge built on timing, discipline, and ring IQ.
Benavidez, as we already know, the younger, very energetic, strong, big, the list kind of goes on. I feel like, that's a fight that Benavidez should win.
In contrast, Stephen Edwards praised Dmitry Bivol for his technique, footwork, and ring control, but noted that David Benavidez's pressure and volume could force long exchanges and disrupt Bivol's rhythm over time.
And he has a bigger variety of punches. So that's a lot to just deal with, knowing that, you know what I mean, if he hits you clean, he could do some kind of damage to you. And he's going to hit Benavidez because Benavidez is going to step to him. That's how Benavidez fights. So I think that's I don't know if I would pick Benavidez if this was 5 years ago. You know what I mean? But it's not. The man is 41 and 41 is 41. Yeah. So I pick Benavidez to beat him. I think Benavidez gets off a little too quick for him.
Stephen Edwards further suggested that David Benavidez's energy and non-stop pressure could create problems for Dmitry Bivol by limiting his ability to settle into rhythm. He added that if Benavidez keeps forcing a fast tempo, Bivol may be required to stay on the move constantly, which could become increasingly taxing over the later rounds.
Gonna be hitting him with 4 and 5 shots. And I like David's youth in that fight. With Bivol's a tremendous fighter. I got tremendous amount of respect for him, but it seems like that the way he moves and he doesn't fight on the inside, Benavidez can kind of force him to overmove and move more than what he would like to move and force him to kind of run out of gas. For as good as Bivol's conditioning is, he does take off rounds because he fights in the constant bounce all night. And I think that Beterbiev's pressure and Benavidez's pressure is different. Beterbiev is more calculated. He actually have good footwork and defense, but it's more subtle and calculated, where Benavidez is a little more frenetic. And I think that he will force a harder pace on Bivol.
However, Floyd Schofield Jr. assessed David Benavidez as being in top form, suggesting his overall level could even be comparable or superior to elite names like Artur Beterbiev. He added that a matchup with Dmitry Bivol would still be highly balanced, calling it a genuine 50-50 fight due to Bivol's technical skill, movement, and ring IQ.
Because I think Bivol had a pretty tough fight with Beterbiev, and I think David Benavidez. Yeah, I think David Benavidez is levels above Beterbiev, so I think it would be a much harder fight for Bivol. But then again, I mean, boxing is 50-50, so that's definitely a 50-50 fight. Because, I mean, Bivol has power, he can box, and he has foot movement, that Soviet style. But, I mean, David is David, so that's just a fight we got to see.
In addition to that, Oscar De La Hoya described a potential fight between Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez as a fascinating high-level matchup that could elevate both fighters' legacies, noting it would be a major test at light heavyweight. He found it a tough decision, but slightly leaned toward Benavidez, crediting his higher activity, work rate, footwork, and ability to adjust during exchanges.
But look, yeah, he proves to the world that he's the best at 175. So, yeah, I think that's a hell of a fight. That would be a hell of a route to take.
Would you favor him or Benavidez in that?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because, I mean, I would go with Benavidez because he's more active. He's he throws more punches. He has better footwork, obviously, than Beterbiev. You know, he's smarter up there. He knows how to think, knows how to adjust. Yeah, I would favor Benavidez.
On the other side, Andre Durrell favored David Benavidez to perform against a highly mobile boxer like Dmitry Bivol. He described Bivol as a final boss type of challenge, pointing to his movement, ring control, and punch timing as factors that could make the fight extremely difficult for Benavidez to solve. Durrell suggested that while Benavidez would stay determined throughout, Bivol's overall style could ultimately be too much to overcome.
Absolutely, Bivol's the final boss. Yes, I was already assuming you thought that, but I don't think he can beat Bivol. You know, I don't think there's literally like nothing he can do to get the victory. I ain't saying they ain't gonna be close. What I'm saying is nothing he can do to win. I think Bivol will edge him out as far as moving. You know, how David pursues versus how well Bivol moves and punches along with his movement will simply be too much for David. He'll be trying to figure it out. He'll be more determined as each round progresses, right? And he'll never give up, right? So that will in turn give him a great performance against Bivol, but he'll learn a lot about himself in that loss versus Bivol. That's the only sure thing for me, and I hate to be that guy, but I have to be that guy.
Similarly, Chris Mannix rated Dmitry Bivol as one of boxing's top pound-for-pound fighters, while also arguing that David Benavidez belongs in that elite tier based on his recent form. He added that Benavidez's momentum and dominance across divisions could give him a slight advantage in a possible fight with Bivol.
Bivol is still a top 5 pound-for-pound guy. That said, based on that performance against Zurdo, I'd have to make the case that Benavidez is a top 5 pound-for-pound guy right now. And I would probably make Benavidez a slight favorite at the moment against Dmitry Bivol because we know what Benavidez is right now. Like, Benavidez is a monster in multiple divisions.
Moreover, Sergio Mora noted that David Benavidez and Dmitry Bivol are already familiar with each other from sparring, which could limit surprises in a real fight. He added that a win over Bivol would greatly elevate Benavidez's standing, while highlighting Bivol's movement and control against Benavidez's speed, jab, and power as key factors in the matchup.
They've sparred before, so they know what to expect. That's one. Two, imagine him fighting in September in the same venue in Las Vegas with all the Mexicans watching again and beating a guy that beat down your superstar, a guy that beat Bivol. I'm talking about Bivol beat Canelo and you beating Bivol on that special date. That's how you take over the crown at 29 years old and become the next star for the next couple of years. Bivol's the way because he's not a big puncher. He's footwork, and you need to know how to close down that distance and footwork. Benavidez has that. Speed beats the timing of Bivol with that jab. The speed's going to intercept that. And then ultimately the power. The power's going to be on Benavidez's side. Bivol's never been a puncher. He's strong, but he's not a puncher. So everything's for Benavidez. I would see him being the major favorite here.
On the other hand, Jai Opetaya has expressed interest in a potential fight with David Benavidez, calling it a high-level matchup between two elite fighters and a major test at world level.
If that's the course, let's fucking do it. You know what I mean? I'm pumped for that. Respectfully, I'd love to fight Benavidez. He's a great fighter. He's got a great following.
On the other hand, David Benavidez responded by saying he is focused on securing the biggest fights in boxing, particularly within his division, and views them as the matchups he is actively pursuing. He added that he is not intimidated by any opponent and is ready to face anyone if the opportunity presents itself.
I think that's the biggest fight in the world, especially at this weight division, you know, and that's definitely a fight I want. Like I said, I'm not scared of nobody. This is Monstro's world. And if he wants to get that fight, we get that fight.
Benavidez also stated that the matchup is a legitimate world title fight, emphasizing that the presence of two belts makes it meaningful regardless of any lineal claims. He added that winning those titles would be a major achievement for him and a moment he would be proud of.
David, do you view this as a fight for the legit cruiserweight title, or is Jai Opetaya lineal, or do you see it as this fight is because it's for two belts?
I mean, I think it's definitely legit because he has two world titles. I mean, it doesn't really matter if Jai Opetaya has another one. He has two legit titles right there. So I think so. It's a legit fight. It's a legit, title shot, and I'm gonna be very happy once I capture those two titles.
Jai Opetaya suggested that a potential matchup with David Benavidez would make sense if both continue collecting major belts, arguing that champions at the top level should eventually meet to establish true divisional supremacy.
I believe it is, especially him being in cruiserweight, and To me, it just makes sense. Like, if he's fighting for a world title in my division, why don't people want to see who the best is in the division? Like, it doesn't not make sense to me if we don't fight. You know what I mean? Like, he's coming up fighting for a undisputed, like a unification fight, and he's going to be holding the WBO and WBA. It just doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't fight.
Adding to that, Max Kellerman pointed out that David Benavidez is still waiting for a signature showdown against top-tier champions such as Canelo Alvarez, Dmitry Bivol, or Artur Beterbiev, while contrasting that with Jai Opetaya, whom he described as an active champion regularly stepping up against high-level opposition.
Benavidez, by my lights, the way I figure things, has never actually been the champion of a division. Not his fault. Canelo never gave him a shot. So far, neither Bivol gave him a shot, nor Beterbiev, when he was a champ, gave him a shot. Opetaya is a champion who is sitting there going, I want to fight you, right? Look, the fact that no one's fought Benavidez, you understand. And I know he just beat Zurdo Ramirez and there were belts on the line. The actual champion of the division is different.
Further going into the discussion, Tapu Opetaya acknowledged the skill of David Benavidez, but questioned the level of his past opposition. He suggested a potential matchup would be a major step up and a true test of how Benavidez handles elite level competition.
I think he boxes quite well, but you can't really sort of judge on who he's had in the past, and they haven't been too much. So Jai's a completely different beast. So what he can do to them is completely different from what he can do to Jai. So we'll see what happens and put everything together, sort of thing.
On the other hand, Ron Ellis noted that David Benavidez could face a tougher night against an opponent of equal physical size, where pressure alone may not be enough. He added that such a scenario would force Benavidez to show more technical adjustments and prove how effectively he can box when he can't rely on overwhelming his opponent with aggression.
Picking on some of the own size. You don't start with that. That's first of all. Y'all the same size, so now it's like, I don't think you can stand there. Yeah, I don't think that's Russian roulette. When you see me on the rope, you know, I'm a little more, I'm swinging, he just, but you know, when it's the same size, you know, Benavidez gonna have to show his real boxing skills. Because I don't think you can just walk him down.
Tim Bradley also predicted that David Benavidez would likely get the better of Jai Opetaya, explaining that Benavidez's relentless pressure and high output could drag the fight into a physically demanding battle. He added that if the bout turns into close-range exchanges, Benavidez's intensity and stamina could gradually break down Opetaya over time.
You know, I'm looking at all these headlines and it's saying David Benavidez beats Usyk, David Benavidez beats Bivol, David Benavidez beat Jai Opetaya. Hell yeah, he beat Opetaya. Oh, I'm a double down. He gonna beat Opetaya. I double down on that one. He gonna beat Opetaya. See, Opetaya got good feet. Yeah, he can box, but he can be drugged into a fight. And if you know anything about David Benavidez, just like he did with Ramirez, he's the one of those guys that's gonna test your heart. He gonna test what you have in here. And once he go to Jai's ass and he tests what he has in here, Jai gonna lose his shit. Jai ain't gonna be boxing and moving around. Jai gonna be looking to fight.
Meanwhile, Sergio Mora noted that although he has often leaned toward David Benavidez in big fights, he considers Jai Opetaya a serious and dangerous opponent. He highlighted Opetaya's punching power, southpaw style, movement, and aggressive approach, suggesting the matchup would likely turn into a hard-fought, physically intense contest.
Same reason I made Benavidez a favorite against Zurdo. I made Benavidez a favorite against Canelo. I know what I'm watching. Opetaya is stronger. Pound for pound in punching, Opetaya punches a lot harder with one single shot than Benavidez. He's a harder, heavy-handed puncher. He's a southpaw. He has better feet than Benavidez. He's just as mean as Benavidez. That would be violent, man. That fight would be violent.
In contrast, Sean Zettel sees David Benavidez as a rising force hitting his peak years, with the tools to become one of the most feared names in the sport. He added that while Benavidez still needs to prove himself against elite-level opposition, his overall ability indicates he could compete with top champions such as Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, and Jai Opetaya.
And it's a special talent who's now really entering his prime now. And he is scary for any fighter to go up against. You know, he's got to prove it. He's got to prove it against the best fighters in the world now. And they're going to be tougher outs than Gilberto Ramirez, but I'm feeling like he can beat all of them. He could beat Bivol, he could beat Beterbiev, he could beat Opetaya. Line them up, and I want to see it.
Agreeing with Sean Zettel, Zab Judah described David Benavidez as a difficult puzzle to solve due to his constant pressure, changing pace, and quick in-fight adjustments. He added that opponents often take time to figure him out, and once Benavidez finds his rhythm, he becomes even harder to control inside the ring.
It's a good fight. I like it. I still say the same thing now. Another stoppage.
Same way, easier, harder fight.
It's probably gonna be done. I mean, listen, man. I predict the same thing because it's a new style. David Benavidez has his own style in boxing. He has his own. He's the first fighter we know with his style. And coming up with his style, he mastered it. So there is no real defense for this style yet. There is no real, how does the blockage go? How does it go? Like, I never see they don't teach no shit like that. You know what I mean? So until somebody can come up with, until they can learn their style completely, you're not gonna know how to defend against it. We gotta see it some more. You know what I mean? So shout out to David Benavidez coming up with his own style. That's crazy. And the switch. Crazy. My guy, he's the first guy with it. What up? I'm saying it. Don't make David cut that switch on. It's over.
At the same time, Connor Wallace described a potential matchup between David Benavidez and Jai Opetaya as a major step up in competition, mainly because of the jump in weight. He added that Benavidez's speed could keep it competitive, but the physical difference would be important, with Opetaya's power likely becoming a real factor whenever he lands clean shots.
It's a massive, massive step up for Benavidez to fight Jai, you know what I mean? Obviously, I feel like he would give Jai a harder fight than Ramirez would, but man, it's a huge jump. He used to be a super middleweight, to light heavyweight, up to cruiserweight. It's not like you're jumping from like super welterweight to middleweight, you know what I mean? It's a huge, 15 kilos, 16 kilos. Yeah. It's massive. And he's not the leanest or strongest. Yes, he's very fast. Benavidez is very fast, but I feel like whenever Jai hits him, he'll know about it.
That wraps up the analysis, a genuine elite matchup where timing, technique, and relentless pressure all come together at the highest level. Opinions are split, and for good reason, as this type of fight pushes both fighters to adapt and problem solve under intense conditions. Now the debate is in your hands. Who do you have winning this one? Leave your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more boxing content.